right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Paulette Chappelle. I'm the Public Information Officer for the U.S. Attorney's Office, Eastern District of Arkansas. And today, you will hear from U.S. Attorney Jonathan D. Ross, as well as U.S. Attorney Clay Folks from the Western District of Arkansas. And you'll also hear from Larry Adams, who is the Assistant Field Office Director for Immigration and Customs Enforcement. One of the priorities of the Department of Justice is the cooperation among federal and state agencies in removing illegal immigrants from our country and combating violent crime. As a result, law enforcement officers made arrests of multiple individuals across the state of Arkansas who are illegal immigrants or who have had contact with law enforcement in the past, as well as the arrest of those individuals who have alleged to have committed drug and gun crimes. So you will first hear from U.S. Attorneys Ross and Folks from their prepared remarks. Following their remarks, you will hear from Director Larry Adams, and then we will open it up for questions.
Good afternoon. I'm Jonathan Ross, U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Arkansas. Today we are announcing the results of Operation Enforce and Remove, an operation over the past 3 weeks, which is the largest collaborative law enforcement effort to enforce immigration laws in Arkansas history. A statewide operation that resulted in the arrest of 219 illegal aliens who unlawfully entered the United States, as well as an additional 253 individuals charged with various crimes to include sexual assault against a minor, aggravated assault, drug distribution, and various firearm offenses. Also, the seizure of nearly 15,000 pounds of illegal drugs worth millions of dollars to include fentanyl pills, fentanyl powder, methamphetamine, cocaine, marijuana, and 43 guns. This arrest operation involved every federal law enforcement agency operating in Arkansas, as well as the Arkansas State Police and the state's 19 state drug task force offices. These 219 aliens who had illegally entered the United States are from the following 23 countries: India, Laos, Vietnam, Mauritania, Serbia, Jordan, Lebanon, Egypt, Nigeria, Belize, Venezuela, Colombia, Peru, Bolivia, Chile, Nicaragua, El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, the Dominican Republic, Cuba, Mexico, and the Marshall Islands. On January 21st, the Department of Justice issued a memo to all department components to include all 94 U.S. Attorney's offices, the DEA, the FBI, ATF, and the U.S. Marshals, instructing each agency to partner with the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement to focus our resources and attention to immigration-related investigations and prosecutions at the federal, state, and local level. The memo outlined policy changes in response to the President's Day 1 executive orders and provided guidance critical to the department's mission to combat 3 of the most serious threats facing the American people. First, cartels and other transnational criminal organizations which have created unsafe borders and huge flows of illegal immigration in violation of United States law. Second, brutal and intolerable violent crime by members of these organizations and illegal aliens. And third, the fentanyl crisis and opioid epidemic that are poisoning our communities and have inflicted an unprecedented toll of addiction, suffering, and death. Because the Justice Department must work to eradicate these threats, the U.S. Attorney's offices in Arkansas, along with each of our federal law enforcement partners, will continue to prioritize working with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement to aggressively enforce the immigration and violent crime laws enacted by Congress. When these efforts are combined with our partnerships with our outstanding state and local law enforcement officials, we are confident that this first operation will lead to additional successful operations in the days ahead.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Clay Folks. I'm currently serving as a United States Attorney in the Western District of Arkansas. At the U.S. Attorney's Office in Western Arkansas, we remain steadfast in our commitment to pursue our goal of maintaining Western District of Arkansas and making it a better and a safer place for the citizens of Western Arkansas. As a result of that, I'm proud to stand here today with our federal, state, and local law enforcement partners to make this announcement about a renewed focus and a renewed intensity in pursuing illegal immigration offenses throughout the state of Arkansas and also in the Western District of Arkansas, which happens to be a direct reflection of our goal of trying to make Western Arkansas a better and a safer place for our citizens. And at the U.S. Attorney's Office, we intend to use every single tool in our federal law enforcement toolbox to pursue those individuals who would illegally cross the border into the United States and bring their associated criminal conduct into the Western District of Arkansas. We intend to refocus our efforts on these immigration enforcement cases and to pursue each and every individual who would bring that criminal conduct to the Western District of Arkansas. And in so doing, we hope to take steps towards achieving our ultimate goal of making Western Arkansas a better and a safer place for our citizens. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I am U.S. and Customs Enforcement Assistant Field Office Director Larry Adams. I would first like to thank the United States Attorneys, Jonathan Ross and Clay Folks, their immeasurable support to our ICE team, as we would not be successful without you all. I would also like to thank all of our federal, state, and local partners standing here behind me for the work that you do every single day. We are here today to discuss the significant progress Arkansas has made in immigration enforcement through a comprehensive, collaborative, and whole-of-government approach. On January 22nd, the Acting Secretary of Homeland Security signed into effect a memo granting the Department of Justice and law enforcement agencies within the Department of Justice the authority to investigate, locate, and apprehend aliens using Title 8, Chapter 12 of the U.S. Code. Following this, the U.S. attorneys from the Eastern and Western Districts of Arkansas, alongside leadership from ICE, FBI, DEA, ATF, the U.S. Marshal Service, began to work together on one shared mission: to apprehend removable illegal criminal aliens who jeopardize public safety. This enables our team an effective immigration-focused operation, leveraging each other's agencies' specialized expertise and capabilities. On February 11th, our DOJ partners, the Arkansas State Police, the Arkansas Judicial Drug Task Force, worked alongside in a 2-week operation that specifically targeted removable aliens who pose a threat to public safety. In closing, I want to send a clear message. We will continue to use every tool, available resource to identify, locate, and apprehend those criminal aliens that pose a threat to public safety. Our enforcement efforts are unwavering, and our dedication to protecting our community remains stronger than ever. Thank you.
Thank you, U.S. Attorney Ross, U.S. Attorney Folks, and Director Adams. At this time, we'll open up the floor for questions.
I need to get a little bit of clarification. Said there were 219 illegal aliens arrested, and then you mentioned 253 people charged with crimes. Are those people who are here illegally? I'm not sure what
Sure.
my numbers are.
So the 253 is a separate group of individuals who are here lawfully who've also been arrested for crimes that the state's 19 drug task force offices have been working on in the past several months to conduct a major enforcement operation.
Okay, and I appreciate that. That helps clarify, because my question was the people arrested, and I know the numbers at 219. How many are actually accused of violent felonies? How many nonviolent felonies? How many misdemeanor? And how many just citations? Can we break that down?
Specifically, I don't have that. If you'd like to formally request those numbers,
How long will
I'll be
it
able to
take
give
you to
them. I can reach out to our public affairs office and we should be able to provide you those numbers.
If it's possible to get those today,
For sure.
I'd like to do that, please.
I think that the majority of the individuals who are being removed are not being charged with violent criminal offenses. Some clarity. So prior to January 20th, the previous administration's policy was that enforcement and removal operations of ICE could only remove those persons convicted of aggravated felonies. And so if a state or local sheriff or other law enforcement partner had someone in their custody charged with any offense and sought to make sure that ICE was aware of their presence in their facility, unless that person was convicted for an aggravated felony, they were not removable. So what's changed is there's no restriction anymore that they must first check the box of being convicted of an aggravated felony. A further nuance is that if a state or local official for the last 4 years sought to have someone removed from their community who was here unlawfully, not only did they have to satisfy the requirement that the person that they were seeking removal be a person who was convicted of an aggravated felony, they also had to have the conviction documents certified from the courts in hand within 6 hours of the request. Our assessment is that this protocol essentially shut down removal operations, at least in the state of Arkansas, and I can't speak for the rest of the country. And so part of what we're seeing here in these 219 arrests since February 5th are persons who would have been removable today who could not have been removed under the previous administration's policy. And so the fact that those records have been created related to their presence in the United States unlawfully, and they've come into contact with law enforcement for a number of reasons. It could be for DWI, domestic battery, it could be a traffic offense.
What
If they,
about witness to a crime or an accident?
yeah, witness to correct. I mean, that I don't know if the people in this 219 include that fact pattern, Dale. But I can tell you as a general matter, what's going on is that people who have been charged with offenses, who previously would have been asked to be removed, the current policy is such that ERO or the enforcement removal operations component of ICE now can go ahead and initiate the removal proceedings. And so the drug task forces have been working with their state and local partners to go back to previous removal requests that were denied and allow that to take place. Another layer or nuance of this is that right now the focus is on removing those types of persons that I've just described. And that's the totality of the focus of the operation. However, when law enforcement arrives to anyone's location, which is the last known address or information that the state and local authorities had for that person, if an incidental encounter occurs with other people with that person, then enforcement removal operations will remove that person as well if they are here unlawfully. And so there can be some incidental or collateral consequence to persons who've been charged with criminal offenses who are here unlawfully the last several years, who are residing with or taking up with other people who are also here unlawfully. So that's not the goal, but enforcement removal operations are not going to be prohibited from when they make contact, when they attempt to make contact with the person they're seeking, anyone that's with them, they're not going to be prohibited from asking who those people are, so verify their status. And so in those instances, part of this 219 will include some people who had no previous criminal charges, but who were with people who had been.
Are any of these people who have applied for legal residency but have not received that designation yet? And if so, how many?
So people that have applied or pending application, if they are taken into custody, those cases are being made on a case-by-case basis, and we do send those cases up to the actual director of ICE to determine if we are going to take those folks into custody. If we do take them into custody, it does not affect their application. They will be heard. They will go through due process in front of an immigration judge, and oftentimes a process that could take years could be adjudicated within weeks if they are in front of an immigration judge.
Yes, sir?
Is there a county-by-county breakdown of these two different types of arrests? Like, I live in White County, cover White until 17. Is there some way we could get like how many different people were arrested in the different counties?
Again, I don't have the specific
That's fine.
details for that. If you do want to make, an official request, I can forward that up to the Public Affairs Office.
Okay. Do I have any other questions? Yes.
Some people who witnessed it said people were just being pulled over because of how they looked. Can you, say that wasn't happening or that was happening?
I can clarify that incident. That was a routine traffic stop for a violation, and he refused to stop for law enforcement. He fled and then resisted arrest. During the stop, it was a traffic violation.
Where are these individuals being held? At local jails, or are they being sent elsewhere to some detention center? And what are the plans for, getting them out of the country, especially given the fact they come from so many different countries as well? What is that going to look like?
For sure. Can I speak from here? Okay, cool. So we do have detention facilities. The majority of the nation's detention, I think close to 30%, are held in central Louisiana. And there they do have access, obviously, to law. And they also go through the due process of seeing an immigration judge, either being removed or given some benefit to where they would be released from there. Oftentimes they are offered a bond. If they are a non-criminal that goes into detention, they may be offered a bond and released on bond.
So is this a fairly quick process right now? Is it being streamlined? Do you have any idea sort of for someone who might have been detained?
No, nothing is being streamlined at this time. The due process is the due process.
Okay.
Currently in our detention facilities, the opportunity to see the immigration judge in your initial appearance is about 3 to 4 weeks out.
And we've heard of some of the places like churches or kind of community centers being targets for trying to identify people who are in the country illegally. Were those included in some of?
They were not. We do not target churches.
Can you step up to the microphone?
Sure. Absolutely. Yes, we're targeting criminal individuals. At this point, we are not targeting churches or schools or any situation like that. So if we are doing a vehicle stop, or local or state police are doing a vehicle stop, and they do happen to pull into a church parking lot because that's safe for them to pull over, then that's where we may affect the arrest. But we are not targeting churches or schools in situations
So
like
anyone
that.
who was not arrested with a criminal past, but may have been here illegally, which obviously is a violation of the law, they were just kind of identified by chance of being with someone who had.
Correct. Those are collaterals. Currently, we do not recognize catch and release. So if there are collaterals when we are making a targeted enforcement arrest, those individuals would be considered collaterals. If there are extenuating circumstances with those individuals, be it child care issues, medical issues, like I had said previously, those determinations are being made at the highest levels of ICE.
Can we repeat what you said basically? What's next? What happens? Are they in local jails? We can hear.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So currently in the state of Arkansas, we do house individuals. It was Sebastian County, but Sebastian County just had a fire in one of their pods, so we don't hold individuals there right now. And then Washington County. So a lot of times, if arrest is made up in Northwest Arkansas, they may spend a day in Washington County, and then they come down to Little Rock, where transportation comes up from Louisiana to Little Rock to pick up the bodies from the state, and then head back down to Little Rock in the detention facilities.
Are they immediately deported? Flights? What's that process?
No. There's a due process. Of course, they do have the opportunity to state their case. If they were previously removed from the United States by an immigration judge, if they had previously gone through the due process, situations like that, then they will be removed once a travel document and once they meet with their consulate and once those steps are taken. If they did not have the opportunity to meet with an immigration judge or have their hearing heard in front of an immigration judge, they do have those procedures to go in front of an immigration judge.
Just to clarify, there was like a finite timeline for this operation, like it started and ended on certain dates. Is that?
It did, correct.
Would you mind reminding us of those dates again?
February 5th,
February 5th through.
or yesterday.
And any idea when a second phase
Enforcement operations are being conducted 7 days a week. As far as general operations, I can't speak to those for operational security and officer and agent safety.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And we have heard a lot of concern concerning mass raids and stuff. It seems like it was targeted and not what we typically think of when we hear mass raids. Is that correct?
Correct. The individuals that were part of this operation were targeted individuals. They had come in contact previously with law enforcement within the last 3 years, and for one reason or another, they were not removed at that time, or they were not eligible to be removed at that time. So these individuals were targeted during this operation.
And from what I've heard, there's been no mass raids in our region that are already.
No, we do not conduct mass raids. We do not conduct mass raids. We completely, these individuals are targeted, they are vetted, and those are the folks that we are apprehending.
Do you have any guidelines in place for anybody who's in custody that happens to be a parent or a caretaker of somebody, a child, or somebody who is U.S. citizen?
So absolutely, and that's what I was discussing previously. If there are extenuating circumstances, those cases are pushed up through the front office of ICE, up to the director of ICE, and those decisions are being determined there.
And, I mean, what kind of guidelines, though, are they considering if you're about to deport somebody's parent or caretaker?
It's really a case-by-case basis. We do aggravating factors, mitigating factors. We provide all the information up to the front office, and then they make the ultimate decision from there. So it's hard to give you a general explanation on how that works. What we do is we write what's called an executive summary for those individuals, and then we push that up to the front office, and those decisions are really made from there. We had sexual assault against a minor.
What's the age range of those
For
those that's arrested?
those, for the individuals that were arrested?
Yeah, what's the age range from, are they under 18, over 18?
Well, we did not arrest any juveniles.
So
During this
it's over
operation,
18?
yeah, during this operation, we have not arrested any juveniles.
And Lee, just for an idea, do you have any idea as far as how those numbers, what you saw, just a rough guess, have?
I do.
We've got the numbers.
Yeah.
Chris, you got it.
Yeah, this will be issued in the press release that'll come out after our press conference, but so far 57 were processed through the Fayetteville office, 23 through the Fort Smith office, and 17 through the Texarkana office. So that kind of makes up Western Arkansas there.
I'm bad with numbers, I'm trying to think about what we're saying.
We'll get you a copy of this. Okay.
Are there any more questions? Yes, ma'am.
There's some confusion, people from the Marshall Islands, the legal status in this country, and that's on the list of an individual, more than one, who may have been arrested. Do you have any clarity? I know it might be a very specific case, and you may not, but I'm just curious if you know any more details.
I can speak in general terms, but I don't know if you have more specific. So typically, people from the Marshall Islands benefit from the Compact of Free Association that's been signed between the United States government and the Republic of the Marshall Islands, which allows them free travel to and from the United States without the requirement of going through a visa application process. That doesn't necessarily mean that someone can't be deported or removed back to the Marshall Islands if they meet certain qualifications, serious criminal offenses and things like that, and you may have more for that. Okay. So,
Thank you.
all right.
So a traffic ticket wouldn't necessarily get someone from the Marshall Islands deported?
Correct.
I was to say, join with Clay and I and Larry are the special charge of the FBI, the ATF, the DEA, our U.S. Marshal here in the Eastern District of Arkansas, Corey Harris, as well as Colonel Hager from Arkansas State Police, and Johnny Sal representing the drug task forces. I just want to point out that as far as the federal partners, we had a meeting in Little Rock on February 4th at the FBI to discuss this Deputy Attorney General memorandum that I referenced in my opening remarks. And And so what the purpose of that meeting was for the first time for us to all come together and think through what it means to be working hand in hand with ICE from February 4th going forward. And so this is the first instance or example of that work. And I would just suggest that there's going to be additional work that comes from this collaboration. I've never seen in my 12-year history with the department all federal law enforcement agencies working together towards one end. And so that's interesting to say the least, and it has produced immediate productive results, and I look forward to seeing what additional results that this partnership produces as the FBI, DEA, and ATF, who have plenty of other responsibilities, are also now prioritizing their work with Immigration and Customs Enforcement.
Are there any other questions?
My last question, I promise to get on, and I was gonna say, what's next? How many more are you looking for? Do we have anything like that? We're still, what's next after 200 and something plus, or are we looking for another? What's next?
I would just say there's no end in sight. I mean, there's plenty of work to do. We will continue working with our state and local sheriffs and chiefs of police to, where possible, if there's someone who's committing criminal activity in their communities, to go ahead and engage with ICE and seek their removal. And so there's no limit to that.
There's no certain number, like, hey, we're still looking for 200 more than we have.
No. I would suggest the number is far more than another 200. But there is no cap. There is no.
There was the mention of like sexual assault against a minor. Is that the most serious crime because like those sort of aggravated felonies were
Let me clarify something. The reference to that charge was not related to any of the illegal immigrants. That was a description of additional arrests made. Those 253 arrests made by drug task forces. I have a better list than that statute, and I'm just not finding my remarks. Give me just a second. Okay. So the crimes that these individuals, my understanding was that the 253 individuals arrested by the drug task forces included offenses such as battery, aggravated assault, robbery, drug possession and distribution, domestic violence, sexual assault, illegal firearm possession, running an illegal casino, forgery, hit and run, indecent exposure, and sexual assault against a minor. Those are the charges for which the illegal immigrants had previously been charged with. So that's that 219 number. Sorry for the confusion.
Hold on. You said before you started that was 253 number.
So Chris is helping me clarify. The 219 illegal immigrants, when we referenced earlier charges for which they had been previously been charged, that list of offenses included the list of offenses for those 219.
And I'll just clarify a little bit how that happens in a lot of cases is if someone is a foreign they're a fugitive from immigration, they were issued a warrant of removal in the past, and we haven't been able to catch up to them until recently, and then those may be charges that they've gotten in another area or another part of the country that necessarily they were released from the jails or whatever, and now they're in Arkansas, and we were able to apprehend them. There's a second example of countries that do not issue travel documents, or folks that are not, being deported back to their country for one reason or another, and maybe now that country is issuing travel documents. So that person may have been what's on an order of supervision, and where they've been reporting to the office once a year or so, but we just haven't been able to get a travel document for them back to their country. Now they're issuing travel documents, and so we were able to take those into custody.
Before everybody starts to spread out, you said if I could, the information that I was going to kind of drill down into some of this by making a formal request.
Correct.
How do I do that?
ICE
Get the
Public
information
Affairs.
today?
I can give you the email address, and it can be ICE Public Affairs.
Del, I'll be able to help you out. Just email me.
Appreciate it.
One other question, how, you guys are working, this is the first time that you've all worked this well together. Maybe it's not well, that may be a term, but what about the local authorities? How does that change with the local authorities? Talking about the sheriff or the city police, does that change their perspective at all?
So currently, I will say that the local authorities have not been designated 287G authority. So they do support us as far as police work, but necessarily immigration work, they have not been granted that authority. Obviously, the governor makes those decisions. If she would like to have a conversation to where we could meet and discuss how that would look, if the state police or locals would do that, I would certainly entertain her phone call anytime she decided to call.
So if they do, if there's a suspect, they can contact you, can they hold them now? Because wasn't there a point where they were not allowed to do that?
Correct. They're not holding them for immigration matters.
No, so that it
Yeah,
could be.
they will not hold them for immigration matters. If they're going to charge them on a state or local crime, then they will have to be booked into their facility.
Okay, and at that point, it could.
Then it triggers to
Oh, okay,
us.
so it's
Correct.
triggered.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Makes
Then it
sense.
triggers to
Thank you
us.
for clarification.
No, for sure.
Do I have any more questions?
Just one final, I mean, there's certainly a lot of fear in immigrant communities in Arkansas. I'm hearing stories of people who even are citizens, like not showing up to work. Is there any way to kind of allay fears for people who are just not sure how this is working and if they might, something might happen to them or a relative?
I'll just speak briefly to that. I mean, I don't think there is. I don't think there's a way to allay fears. I think we can be clear today in communicating what our current goals and objectives are, and that is to remove people from our state who are here unlawfully and have engaged in any other criminal activity. And so if you haven't been charged with a crime the last several years by a state and local law enforcement agency or federal agency, you're probably not somebody that this group of people are working together to find. However, even if you haven't been charged with any offenses, if you are residing with someone who does fit that first category, I mean, when they show up looking for that person, if you're there with them and you're here unlawfully, you will become, as they described, a collateral.
Sure.
And so, I guess maybe don't reside with people who have had previous criminal activity, if that's an option for you, and if it's not, I mean, there's no way to allay those fears.
Do I have any other questions? Well, thank you all for coming. This concludes our press conference for today. There are documents on the table for you. You can take one, and there's also a press release that Chris had passed out. Make sure you get one. And I'll also be sending that through email this afternoon. And thank you again for coming, and your visitor badges, you can just take them off and put them there at the end of the table. Thank you.
Good deal? Thank you for being here.
Good
to see you.